Live from Space Launch Complex 1 at the Kerbal Space Center, the Realistic Design Bureau is proud to bring you live KRO L25 L45 coverage. Today at Space Launch Complex 1, a Delta IV rocket is fueled and ready to launch. KRO L45 for the Kerbal Reconnaissance Office. And we have ignition of the RS-68A main engine. And we have liftoff. Liftoff of the Realistic Design Bureau Delta IV rocket, carrying KROL-1, the first satellite for the Kerbal Reconnaissance Office. Approaching 10 seconds into the mission, we are into a roll. This roll will last for a bit. We're in satellite toolkit mode, ensuring we have downlink. And we have a good data downlink. NRO KRO, that should say KRO, I don't know why it doesn't, but L67 is operating well in its orbit as we roll onto a 0-degree launch heading. Launch heading of 0 degrees has been acquired. Vehicle continuing to fly as expected out of the KSC, now moving into the partial thrust mode. And the partial thrust mode has been enabled. The Delta IV launch vehicle performing as expected. Altitude now 12 kilometers, approaching 1 minute into the flight. And we have moved back into the full thrust mode as we are standing by for SRM jettison. Standing by for SRM jettison. The GEM 60, so the two GEM 60 solid rocket boosters will have done their work and will separate off of the launch vehicle. This is a reconnaissance satellite, so of course we're going to be launching polar. Initiating throttle back to 66%. And throttle back has been enabled. The spacecraft has throttled back, standing by for SRM burnout and jettison. And we have jettison of the two solid rocket motors. Good separation on the two solids. Our next major milestone will be MECO. Passing 1 minute, passing 1 minute, 40 seconds after liftoff. Flying at an altitude of 33 kilometers at a velocity of 1.3 kilometers per second. We have throttled back to even lower numbers. We're at 56% throttle. Downrange 72 kilometers. Flying over the Kerbal continent, the home continent. This satellite is designed to, well, we can't really say what it's designed to do. That's up to the KRO to publicly release that information. What we can tell you is that it's being inserted into a 650 kilometer orbit We cannot tell you the inclination into a polar orbit at 650 kilometers. We cannot tell you the exact specifics, i.e. orbital period. This is episode 1 of Project Real. This is our first main series, Project Real in 1.1. Its other name is Armchair, but we decided that Project Real would be a much better name. And we have throttle back to 56%, as expected. Standing by for main engine cutoff. And we have MECO. MECO has been confirmed. We have stage separation. MES deploy is in work. Deploying the RL-10. And we have ignition, good ignition of the RL-10. Second stage engine pressures beginning to rise. Chamber pressures in the second stage look good. We have a nominal second stage chamber pressure standing by for payload fairing separation. And we have separation, good separation on the payload fairing. NRO KRO L67 is being deployed. We will follow it up to orbital insertion, but we will not follow it past. As our customer requests that we immediately shut down as our customer, the Kerbal Reconnaissance Office, has asked that we not reveal. After orbital insertion, the Kerbal Reconnaissance Office has asked that we shut down, turn off our live recording of this mission. Altitude 88 kilometers. Downrange distance, just checking. No, we cannot confirm. Downlink is nominal, and we have shutdown. Good shutdown of the DCSS. DCSS shutdown is confirmed as we begin the coast phase to apoapsis for the orbital insertion maneuver. We will coast over the poles. We will coast over the north pole of Kerbin. As we are now reorienting to face our maneuver node. Velocity is 2.5 kilometers per second, orbital velocity. Our velocity is really up near something like 7,000 kilometers per hour. As we coast to apoapsis, power in the satellite remains nominal. The satellite's power remains nominal, passing over the north pole of Kerbin, the beautiful aurora visible. And approaching orbital insertion altitude. Electric charge remains nominal. Approaching orbital insertion altitude. Standing by for engine start. We have ullage, and we should have an RL-10 engine start momentarily. And we have a good ignition on the RL-10. The second stage has powered up. And we have a good ignition on the second stage. Roll maneuver is in to orient the payload to its separation attitude. Roll is complete. Standing by for orbital insertion at 650 kilometers. Standing by for complete orbital insertion. Orbital insertion on the Delta second stage is taking place. As we set to control from the payload. The payload's internal powers have taken control of the vehicle as we prepare for deployment of the second of the KRO L45. The KRO L45 mission is being inserted. This is a mimic of a real mission, the NRO L45 mission. We're at an altitude of 650 kilometers and approaching the end of the orbital insertion burn. The Delta second stage is performing as expected. Min-miss visible on the horizon. And we are approaching cutoff of the DCSS. And we have shutdown and separation of KRO L40 of NRO L45. Preparing for Delta second stage deorbit burn, potentially? No? Well, the payload is now beginning its deployment. It has deployed its 2 solar wings. And the instrument aboard the payload is deploying. The instrument aboard the payload has deployed. As it flies over Kerbin, performing its measurements. As we continue to maintain. And anyways, we're gonna now jump back to the Space Center. And welcome to Project Real. This is a first this is our first major series. But anyways, we're gonna jump back into the vehicle assembly building. Because we have plans to make. This is the NRO L45 payload. I used a D-Magic science thing there to get the optical imaging equipment, the Big Brother stereo surveillance cam. We have all kinds of different mods. This oversized signal intelligence is a thing here. If I attach this, if I can find an attachment point to put it on, I'd show you what it looks like expanded. It's massive. I've never seen that thing before. But we have stuff to launch, like a space telescope, for example. Either a deep space telescope or a generic space telescope. I think we're going to launch the generic one first. Now this is supposed to be the equivalent of the spacecraft. This will look kind of like the James Webb space telescope. And if any of you know, they found a launcher for James Webb, the Ariane 5. So we're going to the Ariane 5 ECA, Étage Cryotechnique. We're going to insert this into a higher orbit. It's going to have RCS, battery power. And I think the game has just, yeah, the game has crashed. Anyways, I'm Andy Epix for the Realistic Design Bureau. Thank you for watching this first episode of Project Real.